Yes, population interactions. Let's talk about this one after another. The mind map given for this. The competition. First of all, let's come to the competition. Issues of the competition. Competition among unrelated species. In that, the first one, competition among unrelated species. We just need to understand this particular mind map. That's all. In this mind map, it was given that there are zooplanktons as a food. Why we wrote in uh, bigger letters that food is abundant actually. Though food is abundant, which is food of fishes, though food is abundant by interference competition. What do you say here? The flamingos visited the South American lakes. When the flamingos are visited, that number of fishes started reducing here. Why? The resource is unlimited. Food is there. Zooplanktons are there. The reducing these particular fishes we call interference competition. So that means we are taken this as an example. Competition among unrelated species, though food is abundant, when the resource is even unlimited, when the other species are introduced into this particular area, so the presence of local species is going to be reduced over that. What you can say it as interference competition. Okay, so that's it. Competition among unrelated species. Should remember the place. Example place, South American lake, local species, their food is zooplankton, and visiting one is flamingos. Okay. Next, competitive exclusion. Gauss principle, what you can see. You see, in this mind map, we framed like this. Abingdon tortoise, who got extinct. It's a grass-eating one. The place is Galapagos Island. And in the Galapagos Island, when the goats are introduced here, their high grazing capacity makes the Abingdon tortoise get to be extincted over. So what we say it as competitive exclusion, that between the two species, they compete for one food, that the faster one will remove the slower one. Abingdon tortoise is got extincted here. We call it as competitive exclusion, and this principle is said to be the Gauss principle. When the two species compete for the same, one get extinct over. Next, competitive release. That competitive release, one of the best example here, the rocky sea coasts of Scotland. There are two types of barnacle. The bigger one is Belanus and the smaller one is Chathalamus. Okay, the Cornell field experiment says that when we remove the Belanus, the Chathalamus number is get increased. Just see the difference between this. Chathalamus number is less here because of Belanus. So the Chathalamus number is get increased here because of removal of Belanus. What do you say? Competitive release. Release. Who get released? Chathalamus release. From whom they release? Belanus. Next, coexistence rather than exclusion. The next one is coexistence rather than exclusion. Okay. So in this case, the resource partitioning we can say here. They're not competing like Gauss. What they said, they compete themselves and one will be removed. But here they are not competing. The warblers, which explained by MacArthur, so they are not competing actually. So they changed their pattern, forage pattern, that the leftover in they're present in the different places, or they changed their forage pattern, whatever, they all get survived. That what do you say? Resource partitioning. Closely related species of birds in foraging. They show the behavioral difference observed by MacArthur. It is completely against the Gauss principle. These are the features to be remembered. Okay. So that is about the competition. Let me say once again, competition among unrelated species, that competitive exclusion, competitive release, and coexistence rather than exclusion. So these are the issues. Now, moving on to the parasitism. The free lodging and meals. What is it? Parasite is free lodging, that they stay in the host and they get food. And parasites are host specific, that to be remembered. That means Plasmodium vivax release in human being only. Their vector is mosquito only, female Anopheles mosquito only. What do you call this as? Host specificity. Birds also get malaria. That is because of Plasmodium precox, not vivax. So that means host specificity is there. Next, co-evolution. When the parasite is the host is changing, that parasite also should go for similar kind of adaptation. Otherwise, that particular a parasite may not survive. They maybe get rejected over. So parasite should counteract. Adaptations. Parasites are having so many adaptations. The presence of adhesive organs like suckers and hooks, loss of sense organs, digestive system, the high reproductive activity, and we have some examples: a complex life cycle, human liver fluke to intermediate host fish and snail, malaria spread through inoculation, that by female Anopheles mosquito, that ectoparasites lies on human, ticks, and dogs. These notes will help us to complete the topic with faster way. As we are learning the topic, just as a mind map I am showing here, notes will be much helpful for us. Endoparasites, the life cycle more complex in endoparasite, the reproductive potential is very high. The morphological and anatomical features are greatly simplified. And we have a best example: brood parasitism. Cuckoo or quail lives in the lays the eggs in the crow nest. Here, the parasite is cuckoo and crow is the host. Next, plant parasitism. Cuscuta, the parasitic plant without chlorophyll, living on the hedge plants, host plant, we say. Next, about the prey, we are talking about the prey's fool or prey deceive or avoid the predator. We have some example: camouflage, cryptically colored. Some insects and frogs. The poisonous monarch butterfly is the poisonous. Prey is defined by becoming distasteful to the predator. Monarch butterfly, distasteful because of a special chemical in its body which acquires during caterpillar stage by eating poisonous weeds. Plants too have their defense mechanism. Plant eating, we call phytophagous. Nearly 25% insects are phytophagous. That's why plants must to adapt themselves to protect from their predators. So thorns, acacia and cactus, they have thorns. They store chemicals like which make the herbivore sick. Like many plants are having, they store chemical. The best example we have cardiac glycosides by chelotropes. Nicotine, caffeine, quinine, strychnine, opium are also one of the best example. There are chemicals stored in the plant that all efforts not to be eaten by herbivore, which we call defense mechanism. Next, in the population interaction, predation plus minus. One is plus, that means predator benefit. The other is minus, that prey get affected over. So, some features of the predation we are talking about. Predator as biological control agent. We have an example: Australia in 1920s, when the prickly pear cactus is introduced, they spread it in the millions of hectares to control them. We are introduced to the cactus feeding predator moth. So what we can understand according to this presence of predator, they regulate the prey population. Predator as a biological control agent. Predator maintains species diversity. We have an example here: the rocky intertidal communities of the American Pacific coast. In that, important predator is starfish. When it is removed experimentally, the 10 species of invertebrates are get extincted over. That what? Because of the why, means they have they fight themselves because of interspecific competition. So what you can understand according to this: if there is no predator, who is the predator here? Starfish. The species may fight themselves and they get extinct over. Next, predators are prudent, they are practical, pertaining to prey. Why? How we can say no predator will like to eat all the prey in one time? That what you call over exploitation. They don't do. Predator also become extinct. They know. That's why they don't like that particular feature. That they don't kill all the prey at one place at one time. Moving on, commensalism. That one is benefited, other is affected. We can say, sorry, one is benefited, other is neither benefited nor affected. Commensalism. And the barnacles on the back of whale, that is commensalism plus 0, we can say. Then cattle egret and grazing cattle. Cattle egret is a plus and grazing cattle is 0. Clownfish with sea anemone. Clownfish get benefit and sea anemone will get neither benefit nor effect. Next, mutualism. Both are benefited in this case, plants and animals. Plants provide pollen, nectar to the animals, and animals will help in the plants for pollination. And both should get co-evolution is must in them, because that plant is adapted, that similar kind of adaptation animal should have, or animal is adapted, similar kind of adaptation the plant should have. Otherwise, the interaction will get breakdown. Lichens, the fungal partner and algal partner. We can say that one of the best example, both get benefited. Mycorrhizae and the roots of higher plant. Let me read once again. Example for mutualism, plants and animals, lichens, algal and fungal partner, the mycorrhizae, roots of higher plants. These are example for that mutualism. So this is a brief explanation, just what we say, a memory mind map of the population interactions, which will help us to revise easily.